Hello, how are you? I would like to thank for this invitation of the European Roundtable on Climate Change and Sustainable Transition and Agroecology, and say that I am very, very sorry not to be able to see you personally today. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity to discuss a little the very important subject that you are raising in this meeting. By the way, I want to salute my old companion of climate change negotiations, André Marco, that we've seen so many things together already in the climate regime. And I want also to thank Rodrigo Lima, who is also very present in Brazilian delegations and a very good companion in all these debates. I see that today's event has many illustrious participants, among which Paulo Hartung, whom I salute and is one of the greatest leaders in Brazil regarding sustainability. We have been monitoring, as Secretary of Climate, Energy and Environment of the Foreign Ministry, this growing trend towards unilateral approaches to environmental measures with an impact on trade. We all know that these issues normally have to be dealt with at WTO, and we know that climate change is a very complex issue in which we have agreed thanks to very complex negotiations of climate change. So we have a very clear set of rules, and I believe that we have to stand by it. Many of these new measures are being classified by many as, in fact, non-tariff barriers, not as environmentally inspired measures. We all know that we have carbon border adjustment measures, we have sustainability requirements to be applied extraterritorially, and special clauses negotiated in trade agreements. This tendency are not generally supported, as I said, by the agreements that we all got together to sign in the 90s and in the years 2000. And I would like to remind you also that I am old enough to have participated in the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. And in that occasion, as you all remember, we had a set of decisions that were extremely important for sustainable development, and including the Convention on Climate Change. And the principles of Rio and the Convention on Climate Change have become references for the subject that we're treating today. And I have to remind you that, for instance, in the UNFCCC, we have very clearly a prohibition of the use of environmental arguments in the establishment on non-tariff barriers. This is also present in Principle 12 of the Rio Declaration. So we believe that this kind of punitive approach violates fundamental principles of multilateral regimes that we all agreed to sign and to ratify. I would like to remember also that after these documents, we expanded the multilateral debates, and the climate change regime evolved with the Paris Agreement. And the Paris Agreement, as we all know, has as one of its most important results the creation of the NDCs. And the NDCs are nationally determined, as the name indicates. So we, to make sure that we could have all on board in a stronger participation against climate change, we all agreed that we were going to go to voluntary but very strong commitments of countries. So we have to work together to make sure that we have stronger and stronger NDCs. And by the way, as you all know, we are on the way to developing our second NDCs. All the countries have to present their NDCs in principle 9 to 12 months before COP30, which will be in Brazil, in Belém. And we have already started in Brazil the consultations with civil society, with business, with state institutions, and with the government. And we are going to make sure that we have very ambitious NDCs. But we also know that we can only have ambition in NDCs if we have strong financial support for these NDCs in developing countries. And this is one of the main subjects that we're going to discuss in Baku at COP29 this year. And also Brazil, to support this effort, is stimulating this discussion during its G20 presidency here in Brazil. I would like to stress that thinking of the operationalization of the measures that you're going to debate today, the concept of border adjustment faces very, very significant challenges. There are no internationally agreed methodologies for measuring carbon footprint. And so until this is complete, we are going to depend on unilateral interpretations of what they are. So this is going to be an incredibly strong burden, most of all on medium and small enterprises, because it will be an additional cost to their products. And as developing countries' entities, they have already to struggle a lot to create products that can be internationally accepted. So this growing tendency of applying retaliations linked to non-compliance of environmental or climate standards, they don't encourage compliance. On the opposite, I believe that the cooperative dimension should be used, and we should talk about this together and try to find a way of making sure that these theoretically environmental and climate measures truly have a positive impact in those domains. At the moment, what we see are rules that are seen by many as basically neocolonialism, or as was mentioned by a very important minister from one of the key countries today, that it is a kind of regulatory imperialism. Do we want that? I believe that we have to think that there are very, very few governments that you can imagine that want to support more the fight against climate change and the way towards sustainable development. Brazil's main objective, and President Lula had this objective all his life, is to fight poverty, reduce inequalities, and now very clearly in this third term, he wants to combat climate change, conscious that additional science have shown us that it is urgent to engage into a reduction of emissions. President Lula and the Brazilian government are very conscious of the threats of climate change, including possible tipping points that would have a very, very negative impact on the rains regime in Brazil and could affect in an extremely bad way our agriculture. So I believe that what we have to do is work together. We should not create rules that do not stimulate the best possible action. What could we do? I believe very clearly is a structure that makes sure that these medium and small enterprises in developing countries receive the appropriate support to make sure that they are sustainable, and not punish these companies that, including many of them, as have been pointed out, don't know that these deadlines are already starting to be applied. So we have, I believe, when we discuss about that, as we should discuss about so many themes in the world economy, we have to have as an objective what we're calling Mission 1.5. We have to avoid the temperature raises above 1.5 degrees. Why? Because this is going to unleash frightening dimensions of climate change, including those tipping points like the one that I mentioned in Brazil. So I believe that we have to approach countries like Brazil and so many other countries that have a government that is committed to fight climate change, to make sure that sustainable development can be achieved, and work together to find solutions to eventual obstacles that are seen by developed countries. Developed countries cannot adopt unilateral measures. So let's work together if we truly want to fight climate change. Or is this just a trade issue? So I am sure that the debate today will bring lots of quality to this issue, and I hope to see you soon in another opportunity and work together towards truly constructive approach to this issue. Thank you.